Notice what happens in your brain when you tell yourself, I'm just not motivated, or I don't have motivation. You're making it personal and you're making it mean something about you. And how does that make you feel? Pretty crappy. So notice that when you're in those crappy thoughts and you're feeling those crappy feelings, that you don't even do the things that you need to do. The truth is this: you don't have motivation, you generate it. And today I'm going to talk to you about what motivation really is from my perspective and how you generate, grow and sustain it. And as always, at the end of the show, I'm going to give you something that you can implement right away to find and discover and grow more motivation from a really healthy place in your brain. So if you're ready, let's dive right in. Podcast episode today is because I did a TikTok at some point in the last few days about motivation, and it was quite late at night. And the reason, interesting, that I was doing it was because I'd made a commitment to myself about doing videos on TikTok and Instagram Reels, and I didn't really want to do it. And I was like, okay, what do I need to think to give me the motivation to do it? So off I trots upstairs, and I'm laying on my bed. Now, one of the comments that came back, this gentleman replied something like, "Lol. Never seen somebody talking about motivation and offering a workbook whilst laying on their couch." And I responded with, well, actually, I'm laying on my bed. And this is the whole point. We've got to break the paradigms around what motivation really is. And it really ticked me off, I'm not going to lie. And so I wanted to offer this for you because, well, it'll become apparent as we go through. So this is why I'm doing the podcast episode. And what happens is that when we buy into that rah-rah motivation is about being like in it all the time. It's about being turned on, and it's about being switched on. It's about being loud. It just gives us another way to be up on ourselves for not being enough or not doing enough or doing it wrong. And it perpetuates that do more mentality, which is leaving you mentally, physically and emotionally exhausted, and your nervous system is on high alert. So I'm going to first of all start off with defining how, or we're talking about how you might define and expect to experience motivation. So see if this fits with you. Number one, motivation is something that you have or something that you feel that helps you take action towards something that you want to achieve or a goal you're trying to hit, right? And when you feel motivated, you feel good and you have good thoughts about yourself and your goal. When motivation isn't there, when it's absent, you feel bad, probably have a whole heap of like negative conversations in your head about you, and you tell yourself like, I'm never going to make it, I'm never going to hit that goal, and I'm never going to get there. Now, having worked with literally hundreds of clients over the last, 12 years, either in the fitness and weight loss industry or as a life coach, I know the above to be true, those three things I've just shared with you, because I see it in action over and over again, and I've seen it in myself. And sometimes I still see that in myself, very rarely, but it still happens. So I've picked out the three ways that I think destroy motivation really quickly and really powerfully. And then I'm going to help you to understand how you can not do that for yourself. So number one, letting your results determine your degree of motivation, if at all. Number two, defining motivation in terms of how much you get done, how productive you are. And number three, relying on extrinsic motivation, as in external motivation. So let's break those down a little more. Number one is about letting your results determine your degree of motivation. If we put this very simply, if you are relying on results, it means that your external world is always in charge of your internal world. In other words, what's happening outside of you is going to determine how you feel every minute of every day in your body and your brain. That does not feel good, right? Maybe like me, in the past, you've gone on a weight loss journey and you think you've done amazingly well all week, and you hop on the scales and you've gained a pound. How quickly does your mood change? Maybe you thought you was going to get a new client and it didn't happen. Or maybe you thought you was going to knock some time off your run or your swim or the weight you were lifting and it didn't happen. And then that result literally destroys your motivation in one fail swoop. Your results cannot be the determining factor in your motivation. It will destroy you, and you will never be in control of what is going on in your brain. If you are not in control of what's going on in your brain, you will never have emotional control either. And we create our life through our ability to manage and master our thoughts and emotions, because that is what drives our action. So if you can recognize now that when you get a result and you let that destroy your motivation, that's where you're going to start. And that'll become more clear when we talk about the homework in a second. Number 2, defining motivation in terms of how much you get done and how productive you are. So let me ask you this. Do you know anyone that has an ever-growing to-do list, which they furiously attack every day, but yet they never seem to make progress, and they certainly don't feel great? I know a few of those. This is not motivation. Motivation is not an output exercise. It's not how much you get done. Clearly, when we feel more motivated, when we're experiencing that motivation in our body, we do stuff. But when you've created this really dangerous relationship between, again, it sort of feeds into results a little bit, but like in order to get a ton of stuff done, I need to be motivated, or if I'm motivated, I get a ton of stuff done. You've kind of lost the plot, or the purpose, about what you want to feel motivation around. So let me see if I can break that down a little bit as well. So first of all, I want you to remember that your body is the vehicle of action. If you don't honor your body, if you don't feed it well, if you don't rest it well, if you don't take time out to have joy and fun, if you don't hydrate it well, if you don't give yourself good thoughts that create good feelings in your body so that you can give your nervous system a break, right? You won't have a body to be doing action with anyway. And one of the biggest parts of motivation is how you are fueling your body and your mind to generate and sustain motivation. So when everyone's talking about all this rah stuff, and we're buying into that, the more is more mentality, right? Where there is no honor for our physicality, there is no honor for our emotional health, there's no honor for our mental health in that space. It's like, just get stuff done. Get up at 3 a.m. because you could be dead tomorrow. Well, you might be dead if you keep getting up at 3 a.m. Your body needs sleep and your body needs rest. So I want you to release yourself from the more is more mentality. And I'm going to just quickly give you what I call like a productivity triad, if you like. And it comes from the clarity to know the things that count. Like we call them the needle movers, right? So whether it's your whatever journey you're on, whether it's a weight loss journey, and know for you what your weight loss needs. So just on a side note, people get caught up in the lie that is like, eat less, exercise more. If you're a lady of my age, 47 and above, or around about that age, that is probably the worst thing you can do for weight loss, but that's a whole other episode. And they underestimate the need for stress relief and sleep, because it's a hormonal thing. Fat loss is a hormonal thing, right? So know for you what are your needle movers. Have the clarity. Take the time to get the clarity on what's going to make the biggest difference for me right now. And I'm going to put this in here. All of you, if you're listening to this, somewhere in your list should be time to work on your brain, right? Work on your brain. You will get better results, quicker results when you work on your brain. The second part of the triad, of the triangle, is courage. It's the courage to not have FOMO. It's the courage to stick with the decisions that you made on clarity. Take action on the decisions you've already made, and don't let FOMO or the desperation to get a result take you off track. Clarity, the courage to stick to those decisions and take action from those decisions only, and then consistency in those actions, right? Something else I wrote down here in my notes is about Parkinson's law. If you've not heard of it, Parkinson's law basically says, what's the word I'm looking for? That an action, a project, will take up the amount of time that you give it, basically. So if you give yourself 3 hours to do something, your brain goes, oh, goody, I've got 3 hours. When in actual fact, with absolute clarity, and because you've honored your body as the vehicle, you might be able to get that thing done in 60 minutes, not from a place of trying to cram more in, but from the grounded space of, I know what I'm doing, I know why this is important, I'm excited to be doing this, and I'm going to get it done, and I only need 60 minutes. I don't need 3 hours. If it takes 3 hours, it takes 3 hours. Like, give your, don't try and be, a client of mine yesterday said something like, I've realized that just because it takes up a minute space in my to-do list, it doesn't mean that it takes up a minute period of time in my diary. Like, just if you write down, create a landing page as an example. Like, for some people, they might be able to knock that out in 20 minutes. Other people, it might take them 2 hours. But because 2 pages on your to-do list don't mean it's going to take a short period of time, right? So Parkinson's law says that. So when you're thinking about getting out of that more is more mentality, that's where the clarity, courage, and consistency comes in, and having a look at how much time you're allowing. And that leads me into the last part of this one, is about fill your cup. Motivation, when we move away from the more is more and productivity, and we think about our vehicle as our body as our vehicle of action, you are a multifaceted soul experiencing the world through the human container. And when you don't prioritize the magic, when you don't prioritize the human experience, and you get curious and you enjoy the journey, because we only get this one that we remember, how the hell can you sustain the energy and the joy to be motivated to do something that you haven't got yet? No wonder it doesn't make sense. And no wonder it feels uncomfortable in our brain and our body. Like, filling your cup, bringing the joy to your life, experiencing and being curious about your life and the journey is how you will magnify your motivation. I like that, magnify your motivation. Right, so number 3, we said about relying on extrinsic motivation, okay? So if you think about it, if you think about whether money or weight, so I said, like, you get on the scales and you've lost you put on a pound instead of losing a pound, and now you just feel like totally crappy, right? And when you're looking at those things, when you're telling yourself, okay, I'm doing this because when I've lost the weight, when I'm making more money, when I have my soulmate, when I found my purpose, my dharma, yada, 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 I'm going to feel so much different. I'm going to feel so happy. I'm going to feel so energized. I'm going to feel so motivated. But that when only happens when you have different thoughts and feelings now. So motivation, yes. I mean, I Googled some definitions of motivation, and then I had a look at other questions that had come up in Google, and it was like the 3 different types of motivation: extrinsic, intrinsic, family. Then there's another one, the 4 different types of motivation. It went up to 7. The 7 different types of motivation. Holy crap. How humans make things so complicated. So I'm hoping in this episode, I'm trying to simplify everything for you. And this one is the biggest one. It's that if you're constantly extrinsically motivated by, again, going back to results, when I'm making more money, when I've lost the weight, when I, that future that you're looking for will always be in the future, because you're not changing your thoughts and feelings about it now. Motivation is an internal creation that starts in your brain. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like in a second. Now, the biggest motivation killer is having the subconscious thought on loop that this outcome is not available for me. This outcome isn't going to happen for me. I don't actually believe in myself. I don't actually believe this can happen for me. Doesn't matter what the outcome is. And how in God's name can you stay motivated when you really don't believe in the inevitability of your success? And just notice when that happens, we get in this loop. We know subconsciously we don't really believe. We're trying to harbor and foster all of these thoughts about, yes, I can, and it feels completely disingenuous in your body. So now you're in this horrible frequency that's fluctuating between, I kind of believe, no, absolutely I don't. So we've got, our nervous system is like shot to pieces. When we're in that space, we have this stop-start attitude towards our action and towards our goals, because we don't really believe. And then because we keep breaking the promises we tell ourselves, we activate shame, and that makes us even less motivated, and so it goes on. In very simple terms, everything that we're creating in our life is coming from the same place, which is the thoughts we choose to have, the emotions we choose to have, or the emotions that the thoughts generate, because the thoughts and emotions create the action, and your action leads to our results. But first and foremost, it means that our thoughts actually create our results. So what I want to do, some of you will know from my couple of previous episodes, I've recently created the most amazing workbook for you with a little video on how to use it, around using what I believe is the most powerful coaching tool that I've ever come across in my 10 plus years of coaching and teaching and training, right? It has been life-changing for me. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, I've trained with one of the best in the world as far as coaching goes, and his framework's great. But this one is applicable to every single area of your life. It's so freaking simple. It's almost stupidly simple. It's sort of a version of what I've been teaching for a long time, but there's just something about this model that was designed by Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School that really just, I don't know, it just like set off all these light bulbs in my brain. And it was like, oh my God. And anyway, I digress there because I'll get too carried away. So just to give you a preview and a feeling of what the model looks like and feels like and how it gets put into action before you go download it for yourself, and I'm going to tell you what I want you to do with it specifically, let me show you a model on motivation. Right, so I'm going to use the example of growing your business. That is the circumstance, and all this is explained in the workbook. So in a minute I'll tell you some other circumstances that might be relevant to you, but we're going to do the circumstance which is completely neutral, is growing your business. And when you think about how motivation shows up for you in your business, and I want you to think about the thoughts you have about motivation, what might come up for you with things like, it's really hard to be motivated when I don't have the results I want. I'm too exhausted to maintain any kind of motivation. I don't have the time to do the things that I need to stay motivated. Everyone else is so motivated all the time, and then I feel like a failure. And there could be loads more, but that's just an example of things that I've heard. The feelings that come from those thoughts are feelings of helplessness, overwhelm, uncertainty, insufficiency, like I don't have enough yet, and resentful. And the one that I see most dominantly is failure ahead of time. You're already planning for your failure. Now, from that space of those thoughts and those feelings, the actions that tend to come up for small business owners that I've worked with, inconsistency, like creating what we call like graspy content, like please like my content, please share my content, please buy something from me. Like that's what it feels like. Not making offers, having a couple of productive days or a couple of productive weeks, and then like completely checking out because you're exhausted, being grumpy with your partner and your children, and you feel like your life has been overtaken by your business, by your work. You can't think about anything else. And the results you get is like, I've got no growth in my audience, I've got no growth in my sales, and I feel really crappy all the time. So when we remodel that, so the circumstance stays the same, building your business. The thought, you could choose to have thoughts instead of, I'm in charge of my motivation. When I have more fun and rest, motivation is so easy. My success is inevitable when I keep high frequency thoughts. I keep my brain in my lane, and I choose to generate my own motivation. Now, just let those thoughts percolate through your brain and notice how they create different feelings in your body. Feelings of certainty. Yeah. I know this can work out, and I'm willing to go the whole 9 yards to make it work out. That you might have feelings of excitement, a sense of freedom from your brain, from those thoughts. You feel lighter. You might even feel inspired. And then notice that when you're in that space, the actions you can see yourself taking, you'll make a weekly plan for your business, and you're going to schedule in time for fun and rest and hobbies, and all of that is non-negotiable. Like, you don't let those two things bleed. You don't rob from your fun to give it to your business, because the more fun you have, the more your business will grow. You make offers from a place of knowing that you can help and you want to serve, rather than making offers from a place of, oh God, someone just pay me some money. And you schedule that downtime regularly so you don't have to check out through exhaustion. The results are that primarily you feel a bajillion times better, and you're 100% increasing the chance of growing your audience and making more sales. So what I want to finish off on before I give you your homework is that motivation is not about the loud and the rah-rah. It's not about constantly being in action. It's not about constantly challenging yourself to go harder, to go longer, to go heavier, to go colder. Like, it's none of that. Motivation can be the silently powerful decision that no matter what, this outcome is mine. And holding that thought every moment of every day from a place of inevitability and belief in yourself. Because you become a different person when you choose to practice practice the thought that your success is inevitable in everything that you do. This model has changed my business. It's aligned me with different types of clients, right? I'm getting more and more life coaching clients coming through, and business clients. It's transformed the relationship with my husband, and most importantly, right now, I'm going through quite a difficult, challenging time with my eldest daughter. At the moment, I'm trying to get her diagnosed with ADHD, and she really, really, really struggles with her mental health, and it is making me the best version of myself that I need to be to serve her. And I'm so very, very grateful. So here's what I want you to do for your homework. I want you to just go to the show notes, and I want you to download your workbook. And literally, as soon as you get the workbook gets downloaded like immediately once you put your email in. And then a short 10-minute video will wing its way to your inbox where I help you explain how to use it. And I want you to use it immediately, because I believe it's that life-changing. So when you fill it out, and I've given you all the details, but just while we're here together now, your circumstance, I want you to pick a circumstance where, by choosing the thing where you're struggling with motivation. So it could be weight, like you could be desiring to lose weight. It could be your business. You've got a desire for more money, more clients, more audience, whatever that is. It could be love. Maybe you're looking for your ideal partner, or repairing a challenging relationship that you have now with a spouse or even a child. It could be your purpose. Like you've got this really desire to live out your dharma, your purpose, but you just don't even know where to start or what that looks like, and you keep giving up on yourself. So that's a circumstance. And you're going to start with having all the thoughts that you have about motivation, or where you struggle with motivation. And the thoughts that you have about this thing will tell you exactly where your motivation, or why you're struggling with motivation. So go grab that workbook now. Get started on it now. And listen, if you struggle, feel free. Just drop me a DM on social media, or ask me a question on social media. Slide into my inbox, and I will help you. I'll just send you an email back, or I'll do you a video or whatever, just to help get you going. Because if you are like me, and you've reached a stage in your life where you're like, I have to live the life that lights me up, I truly believe that coaching with the model is the way to do it. And it's the way to do it with so much more love in your brain for yourself, so much less exhaustion in your physical body, in your mental, emotional, spiritual bodies, and calming down your nervous system. And I'm carrying with you this bag of certainty and sufficiency in, I can do it, and I'm going to find the way that it works for me. Truly, this is what's available to you right now. So go download that. If you like this episode, please do feel free to drop me a review onto iTunes. It does help bump me up. Share on your social media channels. And I just want to, as always, extend a great thanks to you for being part of my Your Rich Life podcast community. So I will speak to you again next week.